Welcome to another episode of the Jersey Podcast. I'm your host, Darian Kelly. Today, I have a very special guest, Carlton Harrix. Carlton is the CEO and founder of StatGenie. Carlton, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, man, no problem. Thanks for having me, man. I love what you're doing with the Jersey, and I'm honored to be a guest.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just catch me up, man. How is we talked a little bit about this offline, but just how's the summer been for you? How has these last couple of months have been?
Man, it's been a grind, man. Like I was kind of telling you a little bit about it earlier, it's just trying to, switch developers in the middle of production. It's been a big challenge for us, but we're kind of on the downside of that hill, that obstacle, getting more accustomed and more familiar with how these new developers work. How they communicate and just overall just managing this project, man. It's been a grind, and that's what we've been doing all summer, just grinding, trying to get this thing right.
I love that. And for you, like talk about, the idea behind StatGenie. Like, where did this idea to create this platform come from?
Many years ago, man, my co-founder and I, we were sitting watching the game. Carmelo Anthony was actually playing. We're both big Carmelo Anthony fans. I see you shake your head when I say that.
I love Melo. That's my guy.
Yeah,
He a
man.
Baltimore guy too, so Melo's always good in my book. But
Yeah, man. I love Melo, man. So we were actually sitting and talking about him and where he ranks in in the rankings of overall NBA NBA history. So the debate was, in particular, it was Carmelo versus Larry Bird. How do they stack up versus each other at the small forward position? And we both obviously we thought Carmelo was a better player skill wise, but we had to, in order to figure out what the stats look like, how the stats stack up against each other. He had to pull up Larry Bird. I had to pull up Carmelo Anthony. So that's kind of where we came up with the idea of, this needs to be easier. People need to be able to access their favorite teams, their favorite players a little bit faster. Since then, since we've actually kind of pivoted the idea to, have a wider audience base, so to speak. But yeah, that's where it originated, man. Just an idea, a debate, so to speak, between who's better, Carmelo or Larry Bird.
and talk a little bit about the essentially the target consumer. Like who is this app particularly for? Who's the target audience in your opinion?
Like I say, man, just sports fans in general. That's our kind of bigger market that we're aiming towards. People who crave sports content. We're actually trying to give people a platform where not only will they, be able to consume content, but they'll be able to create sports content surrounding their favorite players and favorite teams. But out of that, you know, big pool, we're basically targeting towards people who play fantasy sports, people who partake in sports betting. I'm in Texas right now, so being able to give a platform where they can make informed decisions on, where they put their money, who they're betting on, what team, what players, for player props, whatever the case may be. Just allowing them to make educated decisions with, where and who they bet on.
Absolutely. And for you, like what, and I think that just taking a step back, I think that as far as informing, whether you play fantasy, whether you're into sports betting, like making informed decisions is key, because even though the sports betting market's a huge market, $1 billion market, a lot of sports fans make ignorant decisions, when it comes to sports betting. They do it from their gut. They just go off of like past experiences that they had with teams and their relationships with their favorite players. And it's more to it than that. Like you have to really make informed decisions, because I think when you look at it from a betting perspective, it just seems like, oh, it's a gamble, right? But it's an investment. So I think
Right.
that when you talk about making informed decisions, I think that that is really important in this day and age. When you look at fantasy or sports betting, you got to be informed about what you're doing.
Right. And that's what we're looking to do, man. We're looking to, replace the emotion of sports betting with information. So you may make your decisions on how well a team is shooting from the 3-point line, in the last, this year, or, I may make my decision on, how many fast break points a team, usually scored or has scored in the, last 3, 5, 10 games. So people make their decisions based on different factors. So we're just trying to, give people those options, to whatever floats your boat, man. Whatever information is key, you helps you make that informed decision. We're trying to provide that to you.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we talked about before is the content creation piece, right? Not just one side of it is the analytics, the other side is the content creation. How does that incorporation of content make StatGenie different from a lot of other platforms that are out there?
Well, we're providing users with a personalized experience. You go on, some of these sports apps, and they hit you with the headlines, and they're giving you all this sports content. All these articles and things, which are cool. We are looking to, we want to add that in the future. Things like articles, but we're basically providing, we're putting the power of content creation in the hand of the user. You can go on and easily create these charts. Personalized charts that basically, play into whatever point you're trying to get across, whether it be in person, on social media. We see people debating on social media all day, every day. So we're trying to provide them with a platform where they can create these charts and create this content that basically adds validation to the points they're trying to make.
Absolutely. And, just zooming out, when you look at the sports tech industry as a whole, in your opinion, as you're building this company, I know that there are, things that you've, been able to learn about the industry, a lot of people you've been able to meet. Talk a little bit about how opportunity rich is the sports tech industry overall from what you've seen.
Man, it's crazy, man. I've kind of, been learning so much since I've started this journey. There's so many different facets in the sports tech, whether it's wearables or VR or fan engagement, in stadium engagement. So many different verticals that fall into this sports tech space that I'm familiar with, but I didn't realize it was such a big deal in this space. And so just I'm continuing to learn as I go. I'm call myself a sponge of information. I like to learn as I go. So, but yeah, a lot of, just like you say, looking at the sports tech industry as a whole, multi-billion-dollar industry they say it's going to reach up to 40 billion here in a few years. So it's big business, man. It's big business for sure. And if you can find that right niche and basically add value to this space, it can be a good thing.
Absolutely. And I saw that you graduated, from St. John's, with your master's in sport and fitness administration. You've held many roles throughout your career. What are some of the lessons that you learned, whether it was in grad school or even just, with the different roles that you've had? Like, what are some key lessons that have helped you become the entrepreneur that you are today?
I would say, man, some of my roles and in my education, just understanding project management, understanding, how to deal and work with people, understanding that communication is key in any type of relationship that you have, whether it be personal, professional, whatever the case may be. And, just having an understanding, while I was in school and while I was doing these things, just having an understanding that, nothing's going to be handed to you. You get what you earn, you get what you work for. So, that's kind of the approach I'm having. Just trying to, like I say, make myself better, man. And, just educate myself. So, and, any problems or any situation, any obstacle come up, I'm well informed and I'm well equipped to handle any type of problem that may come up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you think about, it's one of the things that you hit on is so key. It's like nothing's gonna ever be like given to you, and that's like the number one thing that when you look at sports, you play sports, I play sports, like you learn that in order to obtain any goal, you got to put that work in, you got to put the extra work in, and there's no guarantees. It's no guarantees in sports. Even if you still put the work in, you still might come up short, but it's the lessons you gain throughout, going that process that ultimately allow for you to succeed beyond the playing field. So I think
Right.
that, that's a key point that you touched on.
Like you say, man, just, it's so many life lessons in sport, you know what I mean? So, not having those guarantees and understanding that you might come up short, but understanding that, okay, this is what I could have done better, or, just learning from those shortcomings, learning from those, obstacles or those failures, they say you sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, that's the type of, approach I like to have, man. It's no losses. It's just, you winning. Either you winning or you learning, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or a combination of both.
I love that mindset. For you as, an entrepreneur, like when did it click for you that this is the route that I want to go down? You know what I mean? Like was there like a moment? Was there like a time period where you just like, okay, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur and it's the life that I want to live. Like when did it click for you?
Just having different jobs, man. In my last job, I was actually working in China.
Wow.
And I was very hands-on the administrative side of things, with, creating events and, getting out and marketing and doing different things, to help the company grow. And, it gave me a lot of clarity on, how a company operates, gave me a lot of experience on, what companies need to do to grow. And then, when I got back in, early 2020, it's kind of like the world's at a standstill, and my co-founder and we both agreed that if we're ever going to go after this, now is the time. I probably won't have enough time to do enough research and educate myself if I get a 9 to 5 or whatever the case may be. So that's what I did. I started researching this space, and kind of doing my homework on it. And I said, hey, man, if I'm ever going to do it, I need to do it now. I need to do it while I'm fairly young. I'm not that young, but I need to do it while I'm fairly young, while I have the energy, for it. So it was like, kind of I don't want to say a now or never type of thing. But it just felt like the right time when COVID happened. I came back from China. It kind of put my career at a standstill, and it just felt like the right time to get into it.
Absolutely. And, you know, for you, what are some of the habits that you have that has allowed for you to be, successful as an entrepreneur? Like I study a lot, or I watch a lot of like film on, not film, but just certain videos on, NFL players. Like they talk about Tom Brady and they say like he's not the fastest guy, not the strongest guy, but it's his habits. What habits, in your opinion, allow for you to be successful, in your opinion?
I would say, man, number one, man, for me is staying active, whether that be physically or, just constantly trying to learn and educate yourself. Speaking on just the physical aspect for me, man, I got to stay active. I got to continue to work out and kind of have that release because, life is stressful, man. And as an entrepreneur, especially in the tech space, man, it can get really stressful, so just constantly kind of give myself that, that peace of mind and staying active, but also staying active, within this entrepreneur space, man, constantly trying to, like I say, educate myself, learn what works, what doesn't, learn, about, what these companies who I would love to, eventually, partner with, what are they looking for? How can I cater our company to be a great partner for some of these companies? How can I add value to my company so that we can add value to, the space in its entirety? So just continue to stay active, man, physically, and, mentally with, continue to educate yourself at all times, man, and better myself. I feel like if I better myself, I better the situation, I better the company. So yeah, just being active as much as I can.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is that, it's so easy when, when things get stressful, it's so easy to get paralyzed by that feeling, to the point where you don't do anything, you just let the problem just, sit there. But, staying active, whether it's exercise, whether it's researching something else, whether it's, visualizing where you want to see yourself 10 years from now, like that's key, because I feel as though it's so easy, even though it's so easy to get paralyzed by that, you still got to keep going at the end of the day.
Right. Right. So yeah, man. Also, one thing I left out is networking. You know,
Mm.
networking is big. I've learned so much, especially being here in this Houston, tech economy, as as they say. In the last, I went to a Black and Tech event in Austin at the beginning of the year, and then I learned about Div Inc. I know you've heard about Div Inc. and some of the things they're doing here in Houston. That's when I found out about them and kind of attached myself to them. I didn't get into the accelerator or anything, but I'm always at at their events, at their programs, talking to the staff there and just, networking is huge, man. I've learned so much just by conversations I've had at, different events. So yeah, that's another thing, man. Staying active with, rubbing elbows and meeting people who can add value and, give you information that you need.
What are some of the, I think, what are some tips that you have that have like helped you personally when it comes to networking? Like, what are some tips that you can recommend to people when it comes to that?
I would say, man, just I'm kind of an introvert naturally.
Same.
So yeah, so honestly, man, to take a kind of a look behind the curtain, man, just talk to yourself and say, man, this is what it's gonna take for you to become successful. Having those talks in the mirror, before you go out, or and I personally, I have a relationship. I believe in God. I have a pretty good relationship with God. So constantly having conversations with God, man. I mean, I know I don't mean to take it too deep, but to get over some of those anxiety that you may have about networking, whatever the case may be, man, just giving yourself self affirmations, knowing that you put the work in, knowing that you're knowledgeable in this space, and knowing that you can do it. So sometimes that just take you looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, and just giving yourself making sure that you have the confidence and the clarity that you need to be able to add value to any room that you walk into.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you mentioned, as a believer, like, I'm in the same boat. Like, I have a relationship with God, and you know, one of the things I have to tell myself, whenever I enter a room where I'm networking or I'm looking to, build relationships with people and learn from them, is that ultimately our gifts are essentially borrowed. You know what I mean? And it's like we gotta, while the time that we do have while we're here, we gotta maximize that. So if it's, and understanding that we gotta use our gifts to, impact, others in a positive light. Like that's why I like to like always like remind myself, like it's not about you. You gotta like remove yourself from it, and stop worrying about like how you feel and say like, man, like I could say something or I could do something that could really help inspire someone to help, leave a positive image on them. So easy to get lost in that feeling of like, as an introvert, like I don't know if I should be here, or if I don't know if I should talk to this person. You just gotta like get over that at the end of the day.
Yeah, man, I think that goes back to putting the work in,
Mm.
knowing that you're knowledgeable in this space, knowing that you have a clear objective. That kind of gives you confidence in, networking and things like that, and understanding that everybody's not going to see your vision.
Mm.
Your vision was given to you. It wasn't necessarily given to everybody else. And especially in this entrepreneurial space, man, you're going to hear a lot of no's. You're going to see a lot of people and interact with a lot of people that's not going to believe in what you're doing. So just, understanding, you having an understanding that, hey, I'm going to see this through regardless if I go in this room and everybody doesn't see my vision. I know that I'm going to see this through. I know who I am, and kind of, like you say, removing yourself, man, and understanding that it doesn't really matter what other people think. It's about the work that you're going to put in and what you're looking to do. And win, lose, draw, man. Like I say, you sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So just having that mentality going into it, man, it just helps me out a lot.
Absolutely. And for you, like you said, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, like, entrepreneurship is a grind. It's not easy. For you, as you look back, what was like the toughest challenge that you had in entrepreneurship? And then how did you overcome it ultimately?
Toughest challenge I would say, man, is just working with people. Like my first, like I said, we had to change developers in the middle of it. So just working with people who don't quite understand what you're doing. You know what I mean? So communication, it goes back to communication, being thorough with communication. And, if you have team members on your team, just understand, okay, this is the objective, making well on, what the objectives are, what the goals are. It sounds easy, but if you're working with people, like our developers are from India and they don't necessarily watch basketball, some of them, they don't necessarily watch basketball, football, baseball, you know what I mean? So just communicating well, on the vision, what we're doing, what we're looking to build, and just giving over some of those, communication obstacles that we faced.
Absolutely. And for you, like, what is your why? At the end of the day, like, ultimately your why is what, keeps you motivated. What keeps you motivated, and what is your why behind what you do?
For me, it's that, the answer to that is kind of a 2-point answer, man. Is for one, is my family. I have a fiance who I love dearly, and I have a child now. She's about to be 9 months, who is, who came into the world and stole my whole heart, man. So she came into the world in the middle of my entrepreneurship journey. So she's added a bit of a challenge, but at the end of the day, she's also a relief, to where it's like she kind of gives me that clarity of what, of life. This is what life is about, your loved ones and your family and things like that. But on the other side of that is just having impact. Anything I do, any role I take on, I want to create an impact. You know what I mean? So ultimately, we're hoping to build StatGenie to a point where we're creating impact in this sports tech industry. You know what I mean? In the sports betting industry. So yeah, man, it's just building something that, that adds value to the sports industry as a whole. It creates impact, something that people react to, and ultimately, man, something that people can enjoy and love.
Absolutely. And so this part of the show I like to call wearing the jersey. So I like to give the guests quick hitting questions, and understanding, like, just answer it with the first thing that comes to your mind. Favorite pair of sneakers all time?
Man, I'm a classic guy. I got to go with the Chuck Taylors, man.
Okay.
I've always rocked the Chuck Taylors. I can't lie. You can never go wrong. Suit, casual, whatever the case may be, man. You can never go wrong with a pair of Chuck Taylors.
Favorite jersey of all time?
Favorite jersey. First thing comes to mind is I had a Kobe Bryant throwback MPLS jersey when yeah, man, it was
That
a
powder
black.
blue.
Uh,
That powder blue.
Yeah, no, it actually was the black and gold, and I had a black and gold. I remember wearing it my first day of high school, with a headband to match. And I thought I was so clean, man. So that Kobe Bryant throwback.
Favorite sports memory of all time?
Favorite sports memory? Man, honestly, man, it wasn't actually me playing. I got to go back to Kobe, man. When Kobe dropped 60 in his last game, I'll never forget where I was, and the feeling that, like, it brought. Tears didn't roll down, but I was teary-eyed watching that, man. It was just amazing, the performance he put on in his last. It's just, he went on to do great things. But yeah, man, that last Kobe game, dropping 60, that was amazing to me.
And I think I already know the answer to this one, but what athlete best reflects your mentality as an entrepreneur?
Hey, man, you got to go with Melo.
Melo?
You got to go. It's, to me, it's Melo. You know what I'm saying? He's had so many, he had some triumphs, but he had a lot of adversity in his life. You know what I mean? So just staying the course, man, and putting the work in, and learning lessons. I mean, this is me from outside looking in, but the way he's been able to adjust, and now coming off the bench and doing whatever it takes in order to succeed and add value and impact, teams in a positive way. So for me, man, I love the way he's been able to adjust and still impact the game. So I got to go with Melo, man.
Absolutely. If you could have dinner with 3 guests, invite 3 people to dinner, who would they be?
3 guests. I'm gonna go with LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
You know, LeBron is who he is. I'm gonna say Derek Jeter. You know, I was a big Derek Jeter fan coming up in my youth baseball days, and I gotta go Mike Vick, man. I love Mike. You know, I'm from Georgia, from South Georgia, so he just seemed like somebody that's really personable. Would be easy to relate to. So yeah, I gotta go Mike Vick.
Who is a person in sports that you would love to work with?
Um, First person comes to mind is Rich Paul.
Mm.
You know, he has so much influence over the game right now and athletes and just the sporting industry as a whole, man. And, just leveraging that relationship and, not only just leaning on that relationship with LeBron, but educating himself and growing his own brand and growing his, education and just making himself valuable in any room he walks in. Yeah, I got to go with Rich Paul on that one.
What would the title of your memoir be called?
The title of my memoir, I'll say something from nothing, man.
Absolutely.
Something from nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Carlton, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and I really appreciate you, coming on the show and talking more about StatGenie. What's next for you at this particular point?
Right now, man, the number one goal for me is getting our MVP out. You know, getting this product out, getting users, getting some user feedback, and going from there, man. You know what I'm saying? Getting people to download the app, check it out, and let us know what they think. That's number one priority on my list right now.
Absolutely. And where can, the viewers and the listeners find you from social media aspect?
I'm on IG at Carlton Harrix. That's Harrix with an X, Harrix. You guys can follow me there. Check out the StatGenie landing page, statgeniesports.com. And if you happen to want to email me and talk about, the sports tech world or whatever the case may be, man, you can find me at Harrix, Charrix at statgeniesports.com.
Carlton, thank you for coming on the show.
Man, thank you for having me.